dynamic. So, for example, in Germany, they actually have a heroin replacement program for their worst of the worst addicts. They will provide a safe place for the intravenous user. They will be given free needles. They are given free heroin from the government of Germany, heroin itself. And they can come, I believe, up to 3 times a day and inject. So the doctors there will help provide them with information on treatment if they're finally asking for it. They will get good medical care. They will be told, please, you can't keep injecting through one spot. You will build something called a stoma, which causes a blood flow, which can help lead to a bacterial endocarditis that can kill a person because they shoot with dirty needle. The bacteria can stick on the valves of the heart if there is vibration. So things like that are very useful. Well, just like, everybody probably listening to this right now is going, not here, over my dead body. And of course, yes, in Germany, the police forces were adamantly opposed to any of these types of clinics opening in their town. Absolutely, strongly opposed to it. Well, today, in fact, the police are supportive of it and actually contribute to kind of arguing over where the next clinic could be. Why? Well, data shows that there's about an 80% reduction in petty crime for like a couple of mile radius around that clinic. How about that?
I know. And even in America, we're still fighting to have safe injection sites, which they have in Vancouver, I think other places in Canada. And that's even a milder form that people also find horrific. You go with your heroin to a place, and if you want, in many cases, it can be tested to find out if it's illegal heroin. It's illegal. It can be tested. You're given safe needles. You're allowed to inject there. They have naloxone, the antidote there. And a lot of people really desperately want those in their cities. Big political leaders want them in their cities, but the government, it's illegal. It's illegal.
The idea is that it's going to give this impression that that's permissible and okay, and that we'll have more users, and that this is going to further corrupt our youth. I'm sorry, but cocaine is Schedule II in the United States. It's not often prescribed, but it has approved medical uses as a topical anesthetic. I have yet in all my years to meet a single person who's had a problem with cocaine saying, well, it's because I knew that it could be prescribed to me as a topical anesthetic that I figured it's safe to snort.
Right. And if you go into one of these safe injection sites, again, they have, just like the ones in Germany John talked about, there's help there. If there's support there. So if you are interested in any way in dealing with it, you can start right there. I wanted to go back and just I don't know if you saw the quote we use at the beginning of the book, and I don't want to take up time reading the whole thing, but it says, the problem of chronic opium intoxication is so extremely complex and far-reaching and has evolved so insidiously, we may well ask if opium ever was confined to its sole function, that of a therapeutic agent. And it goes on to say, the United States seems to have the worst reputation in terms of this. This was written in 1928, almost 100 years ago. And at one point I went to the DEA museum because we'd used its website as a resource. And I was there. It was sort of odd. You look at this really well-done panorama of 100 years almost of the DEA. And you see this sad wall of agents who have died. And you're saying, oh, my. This is 100 years, and things are worse now than they ever were. So, what good is making it illegal? What's good is it arresting people and throwing them in jail?
Well, yeah, thanks for tying this into events like this in the past and how different countries and nations and empires have dealt with this universal question. Really a lot to chew on, and people can read a bit more in your book, which is Opium, How an Ancient Flower Shaped and Poisoned Our World, to learn more. John and David, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is all for today. That's today's episode. Thank you for joining me. As always, I want to thank the Knowlton's Rangers, especially our spy masters, Todd Warren, Jake Harrington, Beverly Engel, Bill Ivey, Joyce Norman, Tyler from Colorado, Josh Reddick, Baron Fraser, Chris from Maine, Carl from Norway, Moondoggy from Ohio, Rick Knowlton, Vic and Irene, Mike from New York, Michelle, and Marlene. I'll explain what that is in a second. If you like the show and want to help it grow, there are 4 easy ways for you to do it. 1, like and subscribe to the show on the podcast player of your choice. This helps spread the word about the show. 2, join our Facebook group. Here we can keep the discussion going about new episodes, and you can talk about what you like and didn't like. And you can find this group if you just search for History Unplugged on Facebook. 3, we have an online store with t-shirts, phone covers, and other accessories featuring awesomely bad history puns that were crowdsourced by you, the audience. And you can find that if you go to tpublic, public.com and look for History Unplugged, or you just go to historyonthenet.com and look for our store there. 4, and this is really the best way to dive deep with History Unplugged, and that's to become one of the Knowlton's Rangers. If you know your American history, you know the Knowlton's Rangers were an elite spy and reconnaissance group in the American Revolutionary War, but it's also the name of the membership program of History Unplugged. You can join at 3 levels. If you join at the level of Scout, you can hear all the episodes of History Unplugged completely ad-free and get early access to new episodes, at least a week early. If you join at the Intelligence Officer level, you get special bonus episodes, like a 10-part series on the World War II hero Audie Murphy, a multi-part series called Ottoman Lives about different people in the Ottoman Empire, and a series called Rendezvous with Death that looks at biographical profiles of Americans who went to fight in World War I before America entered the war. The last level is Spy Master, where you get all that stuff, but you also get 3 hardcover history books: Forging a President, How the Wild West Created Teddy Roosevelt, Race to the Top of the World, Richard Byrd and the First Flight to the North Pole, and The Last Fighter Pilot, the true story of the final combat mission of World War II. Another bonus is you can choose a history topic for me to focus on for an entire episode that can go up to an hour, and I'll answer whatever question you have for me, and you get a shout out at the end of each episode. If you want to learn how to become a member of the Knowlton's Rangers, go to patreon.com/unplugged. That's patreon.com/unplugged. All right, well, that is all for my spiel. Thanks for listening to the History Unplugged podcast, from ancient Greece to the Cold War and everything else in between. See you next time.